Hey. What is going on, guys? Yes, I know the sun is still outside or you haven't gone to bed yet. It's way early for the Blu-XPerience, but man, it's been a busy last few days. Everybody's busy. Timing is off. Planes are, one plane is flying, none other plane. So we're coming to you a little bit earlier than normal on the Blu-XPerience with my man Blue right over here. XP72 is in the house. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us on this one. You're probably going to be listening on a replay, but it's all good. Whenever you're listening to this, man, we just want to bring you some more content about the flight sim industry, flight simming, and the big elephant in the room right now, PMDG 737. Lots to discuss with that, but just like a few minutes before we were getting ready to go live, we even have more news about simming. And it seems like all the news now is coming from Microsoft Flight Sim and not XPlane. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about it, but welcome aboard, guys. Blue, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I just been flying the PMDG 737. Like, all I could think about, like, I literally dream about flying this plane. It's crazy. Like, like when I finish flying the plane, I think about flying it again. What am I do next? It's crazy, man. What about you?
Yeah, we're doing the identical same thing. Me, you, and 10,000 other people are doing the same thing for the last 4 days it is.
Yeah, it's
just loading up Microsoft Flight Sim and PMDG 737. It's my first taste of a PMDG product, and I think it's yours too. Lots to speak about on that and what they brought to the table and how they brought it to the table and everything in between that and sliced bread. So that's it. Exactly. But before we even go there, man, we just had news dropped on us maybe 30 minutes ago about more Microsoft Flight Sim news and a particular developer, FS Labs. Did you read it, Blue?
I did. I'm trying to find it again. Here it is. FS Labs came out with an update recently, just basically in summary saying they're planning on bringing their entire product line of Airbuses to Microsoft Flight Sim. So how do you feel about that?
Excited. I mean, bringing it to Microsoft Flight Sim doesn't mean 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or have they been working on it or what? You know what I mean? That's the thing. But of course, I mean, from Microsoft drop, I've been bad on the sim going, hey, it's just a basic sim with basic default airplane except for one, and we need good airplanes in it now. And now we get the first taste of a great airplane in the sim, and it changes your whole perspective about the sim just because. So when FS Labs said they're going to jump on board and bring their whole hangar over here, it's like, actually excited about that.
I already see the chat talking about P3D is dead if FS Labs comes to Microsoft Flight Sim. And it's kind of part of our title is, we're talking about the PMDG 737, but also discussing with kind of the feedback so far. I mean, we've had a lot of releases this year. We've had a lot of complaints about a lot of releases, right? We've complained about a lot of planes. A lot of things have not gone well in Flight Sim. And now that we finally kind of have, what we want, not everything that we want, but a lot of what we want in this one plane in Microsoft Flight Sim, now it's like, well, what about XPlane? Right? They've been real quiet. So it's like, is XPlane dead? But we'll go back into that later. So P3D... We'll go to that later as well. FS Labs. So my personal opinion on that, somebody brought this to my attention earlier today in my stream, and I was like, that's interesting. I've heard good things about FS Labs. I mean, I don't come from P3D either. Neither of us do, so we don't know too much about it. That's why PMDG dropping the 7.3 on us, we didn't really know what to expect except for the fact that, the P3D community raised our hopes so high and raised they raised the hype so high, making us think, oh, this is going to be the best airplane that ever come out, right? And so FS Labs, they're kind of, I'm not sure if they fall even with P3D. PMDG, and you guys in chat can let us know. Are they like right below? Or are they above? Like where do they fall?
I remember when FS Labs dropped the A320 in P3D, and the big thing is that they had the best A320 in P3D.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. They did get a little bit of controversy because of DRM, which is like privacy and safety. They did put something like malware on people's computers.
Oh my
god. But FS Labs had the the goods on the A320. I remember V1 Sim saying like that airplane FS Lab was just a thing to have. You know what I mean? That was like study level. That the word study level was kicked around a lot. So somebody says they don't know what FS Lab makes. I think they're going to be bringing the 319, 320, and 321 family.
Well, it says here they're working on the A320 Neo. That's going to join the series of products or something like that, which I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care who you are. At this moment in time, an A320 Neo doesn't excite me. A brand new one. We already have the Flyby A320 Neo, which is really good, right? And then we have now the Phoenix that's coming very, very soon. That's supposed to be, again, the best thing ever to be created. We don't know yet, but that's how they're kind of hyping up to be like the best 320 we've ever seen. And for FS Labs now to try to join late to the party, right, and say, all right, well, we're going to make a bunch of Airbuses too. I'm like, well, I don't know if I really want another Airbus.
Well, this makes sense. That's why what they did say, let me read directly, says, we're also happy to announce that the A3XX product that we've been testing for a while now is the Airbus A330.
Okay.
We've been working on this product alongside our other development, and we expect to give you more news on that. So maybe the A330 is probably going to be what they drop first.
Now the 30, that's something we can get hype about, right? Like,
I can wide body.
I can get on board an A330 right now. That's what we do need. We need wide bodies for Microsoft Flight Sim. But, I mean, kind of recreating the wheel here again with another developer attacking the Airbus fleet doesn't really attract me. Now, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to spend money on another 320. When I first heard of the Phoenix A320, in my opinion, I said it on the show, was like, why the heck do we need another A320? Like, why do I want to pay $80 for a payware A321? Fly-by-wire is killing it right now. And then I don't know how far along they are on their whole products of Airbuses, but like if they're going to come out next year, think about how far ahead Fly-by-wire is going to be with that product. Fly-by-wire has already separated themselves from a sub of themselves by taking the plane out of the sim and editing it and changing it, and they're planning on nothing on that plane will be default when they're done with that plane. So it's gonna be a whole new aircraft. So they're just like 2 years ahead of someone who's just starting now.
I love what Phoenix is doing. They're like, hey, we're not doing a Neo. We're going back to the CEO engines, the old school thing. And then from the screenshots they showed us with the texturing, it doesn't look new. It looks used. It's a workhorse. I like that angle where they're coming from to go, okay, we might have the Neo here and the fly-by-wire, the A320 mod is good, but what is Phoenix bringing to the table that we're going to look at go, holy crap, this is nice. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and do what you want, but you got to bring something authentic to the table.
Yeah. And then as far as the Boeing side of it, I guess PMDG is the only game that we know in flight sim community who makes good Boeings. I mean, there's some small developers on the XPlane side. Are they going to bring those to Microsoft, like the 7.6 and the 777 and 7.4? Is it all going to be PMDG? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to own a couple of PMDG products, but I don't want all of my Boeings to be PMDG. I want somebody else's flavor in the mix.
I agree.
With that,
I agree. Because I feel like PMDG is great, but like I do agree that I think that there's other developers who could get their hands on Boeing and do it better. Or just do it different, just different in general. We don't all want to be just PMDG. Like PMDG can't monopolize the Boeing market, and it's going to take them a while to get through all these anyway. So there's time for other developers to hop in and be like, all right, well, it won't be till next year, maybe till you get a 777. I can get you one by December.
That's what I want. I want somebody to come out and just blow up the whole market and go, oh, by the way, our product is coming out next week. Here's streamers. Take a look at this and fly it for the next couple of days. I would be like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Without the pre-announcement and the build-up, and then next thing you know, we're still waiting a year and a half for it to drop.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of work, you know what I mean? But I want to be surprised by some third-party developer that we never heard of that came and just smashed things.
Great example of this is I builds and how they just popped out of nowhere on XPlane. Yeah. And just released, I mean, they still to this day right now have some of the best products available on XPlane. And they've already committed and announced they're coming to Microsoft Flight Sim as well. So, what's to stop them from making an A330? Or, they've been saying they might make an 80 as well for XPlane. But what if they switch gears and go, all right, well, let's just drop an 80 on Microsoft Flight Sim?
Yep.
I don't know.
True.
We'll see.
I mean, look, the two most popular airplanes in the world is the 737 and A320.
Yep, period.
And within the next, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month, we're going to have both in the newest sim, right? And they're, from all intents and purposes, they're going to be top notch. Well, 7.3 is here and it's good. And then the Fenix, I think, is going to be good as well. So once those are covered, let's go out there and do some other stuff that, let's not have 4 different A320s and 4 different 737s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Something like that. But
I guess kind of to bring it back, that's why I initially wasn't that excited about FS Labs. Now I have chat saying that FS Labs is basically the PMDG of Airbus for P3D, which is a big deal. But I don't know. I think it may depend on this Phoenix release, on whether or not I care about more Airbus, afterwards. Because if it's as good as they say it's going to be, then I'm like, why do I need FS Labs? Right now, I could be completely wrong. And whenever this product comes out, I'm gonna be like, oh, this is really amazing. And again, I don't know what I'm missing because I don't come from P3D. But like I said, I think that the right thing to do for them strategically would be to focus on the A330. But didn't we also hear that Aerosoft was working on the A330?
Yeah, but they have one in P3D, and compared to the FS Lab, it was okay. It wasn't like up there, didn't compete. You know what I mean? Yeah. So people are kind of soft on it. So you know what I mean? But
so look, all this question, and I'm just kind of like spitting vision in the future. So I think I see something. I'm not a psychic. Uh-oh. I think I see Aerosoft dropping an A330 before FS Labs gets there, before they drop theirs. Do you think people are going to buy Aerosoft A330 knowing that FS Labs has an A330? Or are we going to buy both because we bought the Aerosoft A330 because we're so desperate for a wide-body plane, and then maybe 3 months, 6 months later, we finally get the one we really wanted, and that's the FS Labs A330?
I think, people are going to look at Aerosoft. What does Aerosoft have now? The CRJ, right?
That's it. Yeah, and the Twin Otter.
And they're going to be... And the Twin Otter. So what airline is CRJ? They're going to look at that and go, okay, let's look at the previews of this thing. Let's look at people flying it before the release. Let's see how deep are the systems on it. And if the systems are deep enough, people will be like, all right, we'll grab it and wait for the Aerosoft. Or if the systems are just like, meh, they'll probably be like, nah, I'm good. I'll just wait for FS Labs to come out. That's what's going to be the difference. That's why FS Lab announced it. That's like ice in the market. Go, hey, what? I'm going to let you guys know we're making a product, so you might want to rethink your choices about building something else. So, yeah, that's what you do.
Wow.
So, that is probably the thing. And yeah, that's a good question. Would I grab the Aerosoft knowing that there's going to be a FS Lab? I have to see it first and see what it brings.
Let's just think about this, right? We know Aerosoft has created so far was a CRJ. If they were to make an A330 that was even quality of the CRJ, is that good enough?
Yeah, that is a question. Is it good enough? Right. You know what I mean? So, and I think, the standards so far have been raised in Microsoft Flight Sim that, unlike other simulators in the past, I don't think the audience is going to accept somewhat good enough anymore. You know what I'm saying? I think we have seen what's capable. It's almost like we didn't build up like a crappy airplane in PMDG. We got like PMDG first. Yeah, and it showed you what can be done. Yeah. So I feel bad for anybody that's coming up after this we could just get away with giving you whatever. You know what I mean? And it's good. It's good for us. So everybody might have to rethink what they're going to release in this community now, considering what you can get in the community at the price that it came out at, by the way. And we even talk about that yet. So, as a matter of fact, perfect time to transition into it. Let's just get to it right away. We'll start out just talking about the PMDG, pricing, release date, how it is, what needs to be done, and then we'll go on and talk about the title of this stream, which is where does XPlane lie in the future with everything coming out, what we've been talking about. So, yeah, when did PMDG drop, Blue? Was it
that
Monday?
Was Monday? Yeah, Monday.
Let's start with the price. You heard the price of it.
Yes.
And what did you think? Let's start there.
when I saw the price, this was like the day before it released. I saw the price. It said $69.99, and I don't remember if I mentioned it on the last show. I can't remember what I said, but I know that I was pretty confident it was gonna be between $60 and $70. And I was right on the money. I was personally happy because that's what I wanted it to be as well. So I was like, I think because they've with the DC-6, I saw how they priced it lower than what they've priced it on XPlane and on P3D, and because of the massive community that Flight Sim has now with Microsoft Flight Sim, it's just so many more people that I feel like they can afford to lower the price. And I was hoping they would go with that trend for the 737, especially since we got to buy every variant of it. But yeah, so I was right about the price and right about the week of the release date, so I was pretty happy about my my visions, I guess you could say. But I think it's fairly priced. I honestly feel like they could have easily asked for $90 for that plane, easily, or more.
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised is my word as well. Pleasantly, like, wow, okay, $69.99, not $80, not $90, not $100. This is good. This is like a great starting point to get everybody in, and it showed that everybody jumped in on it because, as you said, they broke the internet.
Oh, they did.
They did.
And people are
caused a lot of
pissed.
problems for a lot of people. Exactly. People are pissed
pissed.
because it did cause a lot of problems for a lot of people, but it broke the internet, and that's because the price was in that sweet spot. They got that right, where they were like, yeah, we got this. And I'm thankful for that they did that, so everybody can get in on the deal, man.
So
Definitely.
how long did it take you to download the 737?
Well, I purchased it leaving work. Somebody messaged me, go, hey man, it's available. So I literally got on my iPhone and purchased it while on the way home from work. I swear, man. Did a screenshot.
He bought the 737 while driving home from work.
Well, I didn't say I was
dedication.
driving, but I might have. I don't know. So, did that. Got home, got the email of the purchase, but didn't get the confirmation email to get the download code. So, this is the steps. It was like an email game. My account said, hey man, you just sent $70 to PMDG. Okay, fine. Then I got a PMDG email saying, hey, we got your purchase good. So I go, okay, fine, let me go download. I go on the website, there's nothing to download. I got the Ops Center. It's like, all right, let's go to the Ops Center and download it. Oh no, it's not available at the Ops Center. What the heck? I hit up the forums, they're like, no, you got to wait until another email that confirms it, that sends a download link. So okay. No email. I literally sent a test email from my other email account to the current email account just to make sure it was receiving emails. I swear I did, right? When that was done, finally, 15, 20 minutes later, I got the confirmation, got the download link. I hit that download link, and what happened? The download button wasn't green at all.
Oh my God.
I was like, what? All right. I had to hit that button for another 10 minutes. Finally, I got the green button. I was like, yeah, right. By this time, the Discord is going crazy because everybody's like relating what's going on, what needs to happen. Hit the download link and then run into the dual authentication or whatever that was. I literally got not one, not two, not 10 different authentication code before I was able to download it.
Oh my
10
God.
emails. Every code ran the authenticator for 10 minutes and go, nope.
Wow.
Timed out. Hit it again. Another code sent to me 10 times. I have the email chain to show you. Finally, the last one, boom. And once you get to download, it literally took my internet connection maybe 3 minutes to download the entire thing. So, that was the experience. And then the setup from that was fairly easy. But it took me a good 2 hours. Took me a good 2 hours, man. So, that was my experience. What about you? What was yours?
Well, it took me 4 hours. Yeah. I was like, it's like release day. Everybody's excited, especially if you're a streamer. Like, yeah, I get to get the plane, get to fly, I get to stream it. And I'm like, all right, this is my window. I have a certain time of day I can stream. And I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. And refreshing the page. I think I refreshed the page for about 3-4 hours as well, and then it finally became available and I was like, oh yes, all right, let's go. So I clicked the button as soon as I could, and I bought it, and I had no problem actually buying the aircraft. Like that went fine for me. Was getting to the buy button. It was after I bought the plane, and then just like you, I think did I get an email? I can't. It took me a while to get the email that you have to get with I think the code or whatever. It's just that whole process took forever. I couldn't even get back into the website, so my money was gone. They took my money. My money was long gone. I was $70, poor, and yet I had no aircraft. And so I'm sitting here like, all right, okay, waiting, and I'm keep refreshing. Like I bought the plane. I'm like checking my account, like I bought the plane, but yet I don't see an email. Like what's going on? And then I'm like going on Discord and seeing that other people are also not getting an email. And I'm like, okay, it's not just me. Nobody's getting emails. And like I said, we literally broke the internet. Like freaking credit card processors are working, but we can't get. I don't know. It's nuts. And I finally, I'm talking to XP on the phone at this time, and he's going through the problem with the authentication part. And I'm like, well, you're lucky. At least you got that far. I can't. The website literally says too many people are here. Like, whatever it was, it's like there's too many people trying to get on the website. Whatever. It's like the notification. And I couldn't get past that for like forever. And eventually I got frustrated. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to sleep. So I went, laid down, took a nap, came back middle of the night, and I was finally able to get in after all the main rush came through. But I mean, there was something like 50,000 plus people all trying to get on the site at the same time, or some ridiculous number. I mean, these guys made bank on this, bro.
Yeah. They did because, I think the timing and everything is just showed the build-up that people had. People have been flying Microsoft Flight Sim for a couple of years now, and nothing really to speak home about. And this was going to be the one plane that did it. And we saw the previews, we saw the streamers flying it for a couple of weeks before the release, and we're like, yeah, this is good. We want to get our hands on this. And we did.
The thing that was surprising to me was, I was expecting, I don't know, because, think back. When the Aerosoft CRJ came out, we had a similar problem. Similar, like the websites froze up and whatever, which it makes sense for like Aerosoft CRJ. It was like the first, kind of higher quality aircraft period for Microsoft Flight Sim. So a lot of people were trying to get in there, and I don't think Aerosoft was prepared for the numbers of people coming in. So it makes sense for Aerosoft, but for PMDG, knowing their reputation, I'm sure they have insider information about how many players Microsoft has as a whole. I feel like they have a better eye on the big picture of Microsoft Flight Sim, and for them not to know that they needed to buff up their servers or something before then, it just surprises me.
Yeah, maybe it took them by surprise, the amount, but the anticipation was there. As you said to me, if you look at the streamers who were streaming before and look at those streamers' numbers of people who were watching, I think Chewy had almost 4,000 people watching. Mm-hmm. That should have given you an idea what the market was for it, and perhaps get them servers beefed up, get multiple servers in different locations. I don't know how they did it. I have no idea. I'm not in their technical department, but clearly we crashed it. We crashed it hard.
Once again, the flight simmers broke the internet. We did the same thing with Microsoft.
Yeah, the experience for some people was just bad. They didn't get it till 24 hours later.
Yeah,
you had to jump.
There's some people who still, not on the PMDG site in particular, but Microsoft as a whole, there's still people I've talked to. There's a few people on my Discord who are like, oh yeah, I've been playing P3D all these years, and I was waiting for the PMDG to come out to go to Microsoft Flight Sim, and they're finally trying to transfer and get over to Microsoft, and they can't even have a good experience because they can't even get the loading screen is cycling. They can't get the thing to install. They crash as soon as they load into the sim. Crazy stuff like that, which are stuff that happened to us when we first started, getting to Microsoft Flight Sim. And it's crazy that, a year and a half later, or 2 years later, however long it's been, that people are still having installation troubles with Microsoft Flight Sim.
Yeah, it's true. And then Microsoft Flight Sim gave me a heart attack yesterday with this update, this patch or whatever. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're going to give me a mandatory update 2 days after I get this plane. I don't know if you're going to break the plane or not, but thank God they did. But Microsoft, we need to talk about this mandatory update thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't make it mandatory. Yeah. Give us the option to wait until other people have tested it before we decide to update our sim. But with you, it's I don't know what the reasoning behind this mandatory update stuff is. It makes no sense to me, honestly. I can imagine if the update is something that's going to affect your server, But if it's just something in the sim, don't make it mandatory. Maybe for Xbox, but not for PC people. PC people spend time tweaking their game, tweaking their sim, only to have it break on an update that you can't ignore or avoid or wait at your, you know what I mean? Or as a streamer, I'm going live in 2 hours. Oh, mandatory update. Cross my fingers. Hopefully it works after I'm done. You know what I mean? I hate that, man. I don't know why they do that. And somebody needs to reach out to them in the community and say, hey, mandatory updates, unless it's something very critical that's going to affect the Microsoft backend servers, should not be a thing. Not in this day and age. I don't think so. But that's just my rant.
Now, on that note, though, like, so with this hotfix, have you noticed anything for the PMDG 737 that's broken, or is it performing the same as it did before the hotfix? Do you think it affected it?
No, I didn't see any difference at all. That can I tell. I don't know what the hotfix is about. I didn't read the notes on it. I just wanted to make sure my sim was going to fire up and work an hour before. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. Good. But let's get back here. So we got this plane. We got the PMDG. First experience with me and you. We downloaded it and jumped into it. And what was your experience, man?
I was about to ask you the same thing. I think you should go first.
Well, look. I am jaded. I'm a jaded person. Anything there's hype around, I don't join that bandwagon. I'm always like, I'm always careful. Like, wait a minute, you know, people in my chat were telling me, yo, this is the God plane. You know, this is a plane that's going to end all planes and stuff. So I had to temper my expectations to say, wait a minute, it's just a developer. They make good products. I know that. Let's just see. But my overall impression. On the very first flight, somebody asked me, what do you think? And I'm like, I think I said I gave it an 8 or a 9 out of 10 right off the bat. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of things to complain about, and we'll get there. But right off the bat, initial impressions of doing the setup, doing the takeoff, you know, running through that FMC that has everything in it, and I mean everything. It was a 9 out of. It was a good experience. You know, for a first launch of an airplane, and we've gone through first launches and go, yeah, this is not ready. Somebody didn't do their homework. It was ready to fly. It did perform without any problems. The frames were good, and I was satisfied, absolutely satisfied from day one with it. So they lived up to their name and the hype. Definitely for me.
Yeah, for me, again, it's been so just hyped up, and you know, things get overhyped. We've been burned so bad lately. It feels like release after release after release. You know, it's just like the planes come out, you know, we get excited about them and they just like let us down. It's like something doesn't work on them, or there's no sound or whatever that may be. And so I kind of like, as I got closer to the release of the PMDG 737 and even watching other streamers do it, the ones who had it early, and seeing how like I saw, okay, visually it looks good. That's what I expect already. I mean, there's not really been any planes that come out that have not been visually good. Like Microsoft just attracts visually, you know, good visual goodness. Like that's like the standard, right? You can't have it's almost hard to make an ugly plane. I think somebody said, who was it? So one of our scenery developers said you could put like a poop in there and it'll look amazing. But anyways, I'm not sure if I can say that, but yeah, so it looked good. And so I started lowering my standards, not standards, but I started lowering my expectations for it. I was like, this thing is getting hyped up too much and I don't want to get disappointed. So I started lowering my expectations. And so anyways, I got my hands on it and opened it in my sim, and I was like, okay, it looks good. It looks really good. Like it's kind of right about what I expected as far as visualness. It looked really good. What really blew me away though, because at first I thought this plane is nice, but it doesn't have any wow factor. That's what I thought. But what blew me away was the ground services. That is something that I was not expecting, and I don't know if like PMDG told the streamers not to show that part, or something, because I don't remember ever seeing it personally. I didn't watch every stream, so they may have just not had it on that one, but I was not expecting that. And as a person who does work now at the airport and on the ramp and doing a lot of the things that these ground services do, is like, wow, they really did their homework on what does what goes where, and just that blew me away. The sounds as well were, at first I was like, because you know, I couldn't help but compare it to Zibo, because that's just all I know, right? Yeah. I mean, a lot of we're talking about this too tonight, about the debate about, you know, comparing this 737, the PMDG, to the Zibo 737, and then also the secondary debate of can you even compare the two together, anyways. But as a person who comes from XPlane, and the only high quality 737 that I know is Zebo, so I can't help but to compare it, right? Because that's all I know. And so when I first heard the sounds in particular, I was like, all right, it's, it's okay. It didn't really hit me in the face like Zebo hit me in the face, but it was good. But I'll say this: after streaming today, I don't know, I don't think it updated, but I feel like it grew on me. Maybe I had the sounds turned up or something, but like I had a different appreciation for what they were offering there. I was like, this is actually really good. So yeah, I mean, yeah, my first impression was all good. Again, I think I was trying to disagree with you on your 8 out of 10, but I don't have a different rating, honestly. I think 8 out of 10 is about right. And the only reason I wouldn't give it higher is because I just don't believe there's any perfect planes in the sim. I think the highest you could go anyway is 9. Like there's a few extra things. Like I compare. Not compare, but I say like the Challenger 650 for XPlane, which I still believe is the best sim plane ever to be created, is still like a mid 9, like 9.5. It's pretty darn close. Right. But you still can't ever be perfect because you'd have to, literally be in a level B like motion simulator and like and all that to really get it all. So yeah.
Yeah, my problem with the sounds, I realized, was they were just too low. I'm used to overpowering sounds. I mean, the A320 mod's got a sound that's louder than, that's the right volume for simming, not reality. There's a difference between real sounds and sim real levels and sim levels. And I think sim levels, you got to get it beefed up a little bit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think there was one setting in my Windows 10 that was down a little bit. So I maxed it out. And since I maxed it out, I can say, yeah, these are good. These are well-rounded sounds. It doesn't blow me away, but it's well-rounded, on par with the airplane and what you'd expect. So I'm good with that. Yes, that 8 out of 10 is good. I mean, criticism I can give it right now. Just the first one you'll notice visually is the FPS of the yoke, the trim wheel, and what else? I think those two things, the frames are like, every time I see it, it gives me the feeling like my sim is stuttering. Then I have to remember, no, that's not the sim. That's just the yoke itself that's doing that. You see what I'm saying? Because usually, visually you're flying along and something that usually spins at a constant rate or moves at a constant rate all of a sudden starts, look like it's got low FPS on it. I'm like,
are also low FPS.
Right. So the wipers, there you go. So that still, in my opinion, I was digging in the menu options. We'll talk about menu options too, where you can actually adjust some performance settings, then change the FPS of certain things. But I didn't see one where you could change the FPS of the yoke, the trim wheel, or the wiper. I would love to bump the FPS up on those things. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. I don't know. I don't know if it's an overall frame saving thing, because the frames on the airplane is good right now, but I would love to have that as an option to turn that up and down. Just like how Microsoft Flight Sim gave the option to change the refresh rate of the primary flight display. So I don't know, but those are the things that bothered me. Even I saw you fly the cargo the other day, and the cargo door also have a low frame rate in opening and closing. And I'm comparing it to XPlane because XPlane is smooth in these things. I can't help but doing that. You know what I mean? I've flown XPlane for 5 years now. So
yeah, it sounds, somebody in the chat was saying they're waiting for an Asobo update, so it might be an Asobo issue. But I'm thinking too, like I noticed the low frame rate on those things, which is weird because I've never seen that problem before on any other plane. So I'm like, what are you guys doing differently in a yoke, in a wiper, in a door that's causing your FPS? Because like this Aerosoft CRJ, there's no choppy doors, there's no choppy wipers. Right. All that stuff is working fine. So like, what are they doing differently? I know they're doing a more complex, right, everything. But yeah, I think for me, my criticisms is that what you said. Honestly, if making the FPS on the yoke or some of those things is going to cost me overall FPS, then I would rather stick with what I got. Because another thing that I didn't mention that did blow me away was how freaking smooth this plane is performance-wise. Like, I was expecting to have low FPS everywhere I go, but beautiful visuals because of this plane. But it's absolutely not like that. You still get the beautiful visual, but you also get high FPS. Like, this is of all the planes that I personally fly on Microsoft Flight Sim, that's the Fly-by-Wire, the Aerosoft CRJ, all this stuff, all the airliners, this is the smoothest running plane that I have going, and it's the highest quality payload we have so far, which has amazed me. But if it's gonna go against that, then I'm like, I'll keep the choppy yoke, just turn it off, or at least have the option to do that. But another thing, and it's not really a criticism, I guess maybe it's just something to get used to. But like, there's a lot of little buttons and things like that are no longer mappable because they've done something different with the way that they have created, like a gear handle, for example. You got to find a new way to map your gear handles. I think the flaps work fine, but there's a few things in there you got to adjust and fix because of just the complexity of how they set up the button mapping, which is good, but it's gonna take some time to get used to, I think. So it's not really bad. So I don't have a whole lot of criticism, honestly, for the plane, except for the low FPS. I can't think of anything else right now at this moment. I mean, the replay mode, which is not really their problem, that's a third-party thing. Sometimes that kind of glitches out, but other than that, I mean, it's hard. It's blows my mind to think the fact that we had a brand new aircraft that actually came out finished.
And this is the reason why 4 days on or whatever amount of days on, we're still flying it and we're not bored with it. Think about it.
Yeah.
And to the point where I still haven't felt like I even scratched the surface of what's possible, because today I saw you flying with the vertical profile thing, and I'm going, I haven't even looked at that. I still don't know how to add the split scimitars to it. The menu options on this thing is like 50 pages deep in that one FMC. Mm-hmm. And I guess this might bring up the next criticism that they're probably going to, so I see some people saying they're going to do it. A lot of these options would be nice in an EFB off to the left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Leave the FMC as the FMC in the airplane and put it in an EFB, but that's probably something that they're going to drop with the 800. I hope they do.
Well, here's the thing too, is that we have the 600 coming out. Matter of fact, let me bring the dates up real quick. So if people didn't know already, they have plans already to drop the the 600 in June. So 737-600 in June, the 737-800 in August, and the 900 variant in September. That's the estimated time they're going to release them. But again, like, this is the same plane. These 4 planes are the same plane. They're just different variants of like links, and different airlines fly different versions, whatnot. So there's a few variations, but in the base of it is the same plane. So over this time period, these planes are going to get updated, and they're going to be like, if the 600 gets updated, the 700 gets get updated with it, most likely with the same features. So we can still get an EFB within that time. We could get fixes to this and that. And I agree though with you. I think they should move all those like ground services and PMDG setup services, stuff like that, over to an EFB, so you can have everything there and not have to go, looking around through the menus. Now, one thing I did figure out today when flying it was that, hey, well, I mean, actually what I could do is use the right FMC as like the one I'm going to use for my extra, like my ground services, my PMDG presets, my failures, whatever, and then use the left FMC and just use that for my actual flight plan specific stuff. So I'm gonna start doing it that way until we get an EFB, but I think it'd be nice to have one. But it's not, it's EFBs is so funny in the flight sim community. We all expect them now, but they're not really necessary.
I know, they weren't there before. A year ago, nobody was doing them. I think Zebo was the first one who dropped one, and we're like, hey, this thing is useful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Malix and Michael in the chat says actually they already said the EFB is incoming. There were some technical issues with it. So they're saying it will be before the next plane drops, they should have the EFB. So that's going to be, I know, man. Wow. Because the reason why I'm saying that is because the amount of options that you can configure for all the different airplanes that you will fly with the 737 is crazy. Literally, you can have every livery and tail number with a completely different configuration that Boeing offered at one point or the other. And I think at some point when we the lull dies down with flying this and other airplanes have dropped, I want to go back and start setting up different airframes with different options and different specs and different things. Just like in the real world, say, it's not all one common thing throughout the entire aviation industry, right? I would love to go in and go, oh, okay, so I guess today we're flying an airplane that doesn't have this or has that or doesn't have, you know what I mean? The lighting, the switches, the throttle, the fuel cutoff switch, the scimitar, just the whole thing, man. That just, that right there just is why I'm thinking now, how many days later, I feel like I haven't even experienced a full-on airplane yet because I haven't gotten to the depths of what I need to see and configure and done. And that's holding my attention. You know what I mean? If it was just a 7-3, go ahead.
That's what I was kind of telling to when I was flying it and streaming it. I think it was today. I was like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I want to do 2 legs, but like, I'm just gonna take my time and just fly. Just fly it and just go through the menus and learn about it. Like you said, like there's so much stuff in there that they did. Just we weren't expecting. It's stuff that we're not used to, stuff that we don't know what to do with. We don't know what it does. I know like the split skimmers, however you call it. They seem to go with the livery. I don't know if there's a way to change it in the FMC. There probably is an option for that, but there's an option for everything. Like I feel like you could literally create your own custom plane. Like if you make our own livery, you have the options. But all right, well, for my airline, we're gonna be flying with Honeywell and Collins, and we're gonna have split skimmers, and then we're gonna have a freaking antenna over here. You know what I mean? And we're gonna have the eyebrows. Like you can do all that stuff, which is really cool. And so they did a really good job on it, man.
It would be sacrilege to do an airplane that has eyebrows with split skimmers. Okay. Yeah.
One thing I haven't seen yet, and I don't know which livery has it, but I haven't seen a plane without any winglets at all. Is that an option?
I don't think so. That's a classic. That's a 300. I think that's the NG. All the NGs should have some kind of winglet option. I think that's the classic 300. I could be wrong. Who knows? Now I'm realizing how many different things Boeing actually made with this airplane. I mean, it's one of the longest running airplane, man. So they've done so many options with this thing. It's awesome. And so, talking about that, this brings us to where we are today. How many days later we're flying it? And then I've spoken to a lot of people, and, you see the title, but I've been asking people, hey, when are you going back to XPlane? When are you going to be flying XPlane? What's the status of that now? And, we can get into the comparison between XPlane and the Zibo and the PMDG. And some people are saying, hey, man, you can't compare them. It's two different sims, two different developer, whatever. And I say different. I say you can compare them. What do you think? Can they be compared?
Yeah, so there's this debate. Can you compare Microsoft PMDG 737 to like a Zibo 737? And I think you can, but in certain ways. I feel like you have to kind of put them in categories. Like you have to kind of be like, all right, what are you comparing exactly? Are you comparing just how it looks? Are you comparing just the sound? Are you comparing just a flight model, which is hard to do because it's two different sims? So really you're like, all right, well, XPlane in Zibo in XPlane flight model versus PMDG in Microsoft's flight model, right? Well, even though they've customized it, there's only so much they can do. I think the only time you can really make the best perfect comparison is when you bring over the PMDG 737, the exact same one, and put it in XPlane, or take Zibo to the exact same one and put it in Microsoft. Then you have an even playing field to really compare, especially when it comes to flight dynamics. But you can compare systems. You can compare sounds. You can compare how it looks. You can also compare the user experience. And I think that's really what people are comparing. A lot of us are like, oh, it's a lot of talk about the flight dynamics and whatnot, and we are not real pilots. We can't say much about that. Like, I've said this so many times. We can't say much about that. It's gonna come down to real pilots flying these planes and be like, all right, this is how this feels. This feels weird. Even a real pilot can't even say all that much either, because in real life they get forced feedback. We don't have that. We can say all we want about how amazing XPlane's, flight dynamics are and how they brag that they have the best flight model, but how do we really know? We don't have forced feedback. We don't feel the aircraft. Yeah, we can see the numbers. It can be accurate to the numbers of what the plane shows, but we don't really get that feel. And so when you're flying the plane, okay, this feels heavy. Okay, a plane's supposed to feel heavy. Well, who knows? How do you know a 737 is supposed to feel heavy? Is it? I was told today in my chat, it was like, well, the 700 variant feels light. I was like, all right, is that true? How's the 800 feel, right? So like, it's hard. So I don't want to go too long into the flight model side, but I think you can compare player experience.
Shout out to Flight Deck to Sim. He's been the go-to guy for me. Every stream he's done so far, I've watched it just to get his opinion. It's like, why does his opinion matter? It matters. I don't know what it is about us simmers who are not real pilots, but we want to know the product that we have in our hand is as close as it can get to the real thing. And I think that's why we care. If we didn't care, we would be flying some other developer that makes a plane without a cockpit or something. You know what I mean? But we care. So Flight Deck to Sim has done a really wonderful job striking the balance between telling you the pros and cons of the plane and also the comparisons of it to the Zibo. And, I can only go based on what he's saying and the little things that he's pointing out. And he doesn't have a lot of criticisms at all, to be honest. And he's enjoying flying it, and he's going to be flying a lot more. He did say today that he's going to go back and fly the Zibo as well. He's not going to leave that out. He's not going to drop it. But, the little things he was saying, like the FMC, I didn't realize that. He said they were using like an older version of the FMC because the VNAV behaved differently than the newer versions. You know what I mean? They didn't put the date of the FMC that they were using, like whatever, what do you call it, version number. That's different. So, can't really directly compare it as well because he doesn't know, which is pretty cool. A lot of the flight model issues, it's a Microsoft thing anyway. It's not a PMDG thing. I think PMDG did a heck of a job. I want to use the term wringing out the best they can out of Microsoft Flight Sim to make it fly good.
Yeah.
You understand? They did. Comparing it to the CRJ and the MD-11, as your planes, they did miracles to get that thing to actually feel good, and it did. I've hand flown it every departure, and I was like, wow. When I disconnect the autopilot for landing, I don't feel like, oh, here we go, we're in for a ride. It's like manageable and good. So shout out to PMDG for making a good handling experience, on this airplane. But it's inevitable that we do the comparisons, man, because there's still people over there on XPlane 11 who are not leaving, or can't leave, or don't want to leave, and they want to know if what they have over there is good. And I think the news is what you have in XPlane 11 is good, is very good. Flight model-wise, it's fluid, it's dynamic. The ground forces, everything about it is good. So don't be disheartened if you still have XPlane and you can't come to Microsoft for whatever reason. Yeah. Your Zibo is just up there as well as what we have right now, which is pretty good to know.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, it was like, do you think this is better than Zibo? And I was like, honestly, no. I just don't. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's better. Now, why do I say that? Why do I think, what's better? Do I think it's because of the flight model? Is it because, no, I'm saying my personal, as a flight simulator who's not a pilot and doesn't know what real 737 feel like, my entire user experience when flying a Zibo 737, I feel like I can't get any closer to the real thing. Now flying the PMDG 73, I'm like, wow, this is, I'm getting a very similar experience, right? And I think that over time, it may evolve and grow. I think some of the little things that make Zibo kind of pop out, again, has a lot to do with the sound. It's the cabin announcements you get. If you just ride in the window seat, right, of the Zibo 737 and had, if you had, a shared cockpit situation where somebody else was flying or something like that, and you were just in the window seat, you would get, honestly, probably a better experience in the plane than you would in real life, because you're able to change windows. You can't get out your seat in a real plane and go to the other side and watch the right engine, window view. You gotta sit in one spot. So I don't know. I've traveled a lot in real life as a passenger, and the sounds that I hear and all that it brings it together for me to have the best flight sim experience as a whole, not with flight model, not just sounds, but everything together comes together. That's for me, but it's
But the biggest thing that's on PMDG's side, really and truly, it's not even the airplane, it's the sim that it's in.
Yes,
it's the beauty of the sim. I'll talk a lot of crap about Microsoft Flight Sim Flight Dynamics, but the beauty of that simulator blows me away every single time I fly it. And I can't I can't get that out of my mind. So when you go sit down in front of your computer to load up and you're going to do a route, you're like, okay, which sim do I want to fly this route in? I have two 737s. Okay, they're both good and capable. Which sim do I want to be in to fly this route? And you're like, I know the one that looks pretty.
And I think that's the freaking question right there. Is now we have a amazing 737 and XPlane, right? We have an amazing 737 and Microsoft Flight Sim, and for some people, they have an amazing 737 and P3D. So when it comes down to, all right, you're gonna sit here in front of your computer or your whatever, and you want to do a route from A to B, whatever your favorite route is, which sim are you gonna choose?
Yeah,
And I think
that's the
that's
thing.
where the comparison for you as an individual comes. Like, which sim are you gonna choose?
I have an idea. I if I go to XPlane, the reason would be that because I know that I had two great sceneries to fly out of and fly into. So I know I was going to land in Mr. X's Boston, Short Final Boston, and I was going to leave out of Vertical Sims Tampa. Two great sceneries.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that my ground experience is going to be good because the developer did all the trees around the airport and the taxiway textures and the lighting textures, the building textures. And then when I land in Boston, it's going to be just as good, and I have ortho. But if it's somewhere that I'm like never been before, or there's no scenery for it in X-Plane, or the one in X-Plane looks like garbage, you know it's going to be Microsoft Flight Sim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then also because it's 11 and not 12, you know the weather is going to be an issue too. You're going to have the cloud redraws. It doesn't load up properly. The wind shifting, whatever. And so my 9 times out of 10, it's Microsoft. You're like, yo, it's just too pretty not to fly. Now that I have a capable airplane in here, why not just fly Microsoft and call it a day? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. Now, you know what I mean? Now, when 12 comes out, we need to see because all of that, a lot of this stuff is going to be addressed in 12. We don't know what it's going to look like. We know that the weather is going to be better. We know that rain effect and snow effect and ice effect and winds and shift and sounds and all that stuff is going to be better. And I heard also that the texturing is going to even look better, even on existing airports and stuff. So we'll see. But you're right, though. Is which one do you draw for? You know what I mean? When you get to do it. So
And
that's an
to
issue.
you with moving into the X-Plane side, and first of all, I don't know when I'm going to be back in X-Plane. I just want to put that out there. It might be a couple weeks at least before I hop in the cockpit or something. But what, based on what we know about X-Plane 12 and what we've seen so far, do you think it's enough? Right. So it's just picture, and I keep trying to look into the future and think like, all right, so it's 2023. I'm just putting this. It's 2023, and we now have the whole 737 fleet. The 777 might be coming out soon, or maybe it is out. I don't know what we're looking forward in this time. And X-Plane 12 is out as well. Like, is what X-Plane 12 mentioned so far enough to compete? Right?
Well, I'm going to answer that, but let me read this comment. I have to read this. T-Bomb 83 says
Uh oh.
Microsoft is a less smart but crazy hot girl at the bar. X-Plane is a sim you take home to meet your mom.
You know what? That's pretty accurate.
God, I am done.
That's pretty
You
accurate,
know,
T-Bomb.
Yep. Google Man says Flight Sim 2020 wins overall in visuals, though the flight dynamics are a bit odd. X-Plane wins both in visuals and flight dynamics, and P3D wins in flight dynamics. So I don't know. It's going to be a personal taste. I mean, Rookie was saying that, back to the Zebo real quick, they offer a lot more with cabin sounds and passengers and so forth and so on. But anyway, 12. Um, based on what we've seen so far, let me tell you what I love about 12. The clouds and the weather is going to be bomb. That's a huge thing. That's a huge draw for me in Microsoft also, is the cloud and the weather. You climb through a cloud in Microsoft, you're like, holy moly, this looks so good. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you get. So X-Plane 12 is going to have that. Check. It has the flight dynamics. Check. It's going to have the icing and rain effect and rain on the ground and water on the ground and windshield effect. Check.
That's gonna be so nice. I forgot about
Right. Existing sceneries should work, and if the developers want to take advantage and update their sceneries to even look better, check. One thing that they can't do, though, or I don't know what they're going to do about it, is ground textures and ortho. And we're going to get to see how important that is or isn't in what the simulator looks like. I can tell you, if you do ortho, and ortho is going to be available because you're going to be fixing that, because that's a freeware, but that's not in the sim. But as far as the raw sim is concerned, I don't know what they're going to do with ground textures and what it's going to look like. I know that they are working on the coastlines to make the coastlines look better and more realistic.
But what about
So
between the
that,
coastlines?
well, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know. And that is probably going to be like, ugh, that doesn't look good. Or, okay, this is plausible. I could deal with that. You know what I mean? So,
Like, I just don't think
I don't
we're
know.
gonna be able to play XPlane 12 default.
Yeah, I think the enhancements is going to be, but less enhancements as far as ortho is a must. If they don't have ortho, it's going to be a must for me. I'll invest the hard drive space and put ortho on it. You know what I mean? The rest of it, I will have to see. But don't forget, though, I know we said we're not going back to XPlane. Well, you said you're not me. You
I
said
don't know. I say in the next couple of weeks, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe. It
next
depends on
couple of weeks.
what releases
But
in the next couple of weeks.
But think about the airplanes that you have to fly in the sim. Talking about 7.3, but you have the A300, you have the A310, you have the you have the 7.5, you have the 7.6, you have the 777 that's coming, you have the MD-80, you have the MD-11 that is coming up to par. You have a lot of planes. Once you get tired of the 7.3 and the A320, where do you go? Where do you go back to? X-plane. You see what I'm saying? You have a max variant in there as well. So that is the reason why X-Plane is not dead yet. And that's just 11. When 12 comes, we haven't heard anything from them. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But the more Microsoft gets loaded up with all these pairs coming out, then the less time you'll probably spend in X-Plane. But you're going to want to go back and fly some of these classics, man.
He said,
That's
"Look
it.
at my face. This is my conflicted face. I'm so conflicted because you're bringing up all the amazing things that I love about X-Plane. Like you're reminding me of all the things that I love about X-Plane, and it's the aircraft. And I'm thinking about X-Plane with better weather, right? Because one of the main things I love about Microsoft is not just the scenery, but the scenery and the weather and how everything feels like it's one, right? Like it feels like the plane lives in the environment that that you're in, right? Not separate. Like I feel like when you're in X-Plane right now in 11, it's like you're in this amazing plane, but then you're not really connected to the environment anyway. It's there. You can see it, but in reality, you don't feel like you're connected. I feel like in Microsoft Flight Sim, you actually feel like you are living, breathing, and connected within the environment. And then when you fly around mountains, you feel the updrafts. When you over mountains, you get turbulence, stuff like that. So, but you're right. You're right. And I guess X-Plane has been burning me a lot too. So I've been a little salty because of how the MD-11 went. That was a bit upsetting. But still fun, and then a few other releases that came out as well. But I think if the lighting and the visuals and the clouds and the weather do as well as they've been promoting, and again, that the rain effect is something that really gets me. I absolutely hate flying in X-Plane with no freaking windshield water effects. Like if it's raining in the area, I'm not flying there in X-Plane right now. Like, I refuse. Like, a lot of times as flight simulators are like, oh, yes, there's a tornado over there. Or it's a hurricane over there. Let's go do a VAT sim event. But for me, it's like, if it's raining, I'm not flying X-Plane. I hate seeing the freaking smoke clouds you fly through, and then you see, like, these massive white streaks of rain coming down and then nothing touching your windshield. It just breaks the immersion so bad that I don't enjoy it anymore. And so anyways, beyond that, once they fix that, I mean, it'll be better. But so having those planes in X-Plane and all that being updated, I think would be a better experience. So I mean, I know what I'm saying right now because I'm just so in love with the 7.3 from PMDG on Microsoft Flight Sim that, I'm not going to be going back. But right now, I'm just going to enjoy the plane for a while, in Microsoft. And then eventually I'll go back to X-Plane and start enjoying the planes I enjoy there as well. Because, I mean, I spent a lot of time in X-Plane, even, since Microsoft has been out.
Yeah, and we're on the first week of the PMDG 737. As I said, we're not bored of it yet, and we're going to be flying it some more. But then Fenix said they're coming out in days, not months. So is that 5 days, 10 days, 15 days? I don't know, but days. When that comes in, everybody's going to be flying that for another couple of weeks. So you're probably not being X-Plane back for like a month, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's one of these things.
For the drop like next week, I would spend a week flying that, but then I'm like, I want to go back to PMDG 7.3 because it's probably gonna be a hotfix or something,
Exactly.
So it would be tough.
Yep.
Tough.
Exactly. And for me, as a simmer, I've finally gotten Microsoft Flight Sim to the stage where I could just load up, flight plan, and go. Before it was a struggle because something was wrong or whatever. Now I have everything working. All my peripherals are working. My radio panel, my throttle, my autopilot panel, my throat and yaddle is calibrated. We're good to go. It's easy now. Easy in, easy out. So it's on par with getting it prepared like I did with XPlane 11. So yeah, again, the something about visuals, man. Something about that bar analogy is like there's something with a pretty girl that you just can't take your eyes off of. She's shallow, she's got issues and crazy, but you're like, I'm gonna go there. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. The visual gets you every time. As you said, you're immersed in it. You feel like you're in it. So, but there will come a time where like, yeah, that's it. I'm 737 out. Just like with the A320, no more. And you want to go drop a plane that you haven't flown in a while and go, wow, I missed this.
Here's the thing, too, is that 737 has a mission. And you're going to be flying that mission. But then you're also going to want to fly a different mission. And the 737 is not going to be able to complete that mission. So, for example, you may be like, all right, well, it's cross the pond. You can do that in the 737. Yeah. But you're probably going to take a big heavy plane somewhere. And that's not the 737. And so at that point, you're going to either find whatever heavy is in Microsoft Flight Sim. If that's today, it's going to be none. And then you're going to go back to XPlane and start flying whatever plane you enjoy flying over there, A350 or 767, whatever that plane may be for you. So I don't think XPlane is dead today. I want to say I'm happy that we have two great sims. But I'm also conflicted sometimes, and I think honestly, I'm gonna be less stressed when people stop asking me about the two. It's gonna be better because here's the thing: when you decide to fly, you just fly what you want to fly, where you want to fly, and don't worry about what sim it is. If you have both of the sims, then just fly whichever one is gonna bring you the most enjoyment for that particular flight. So, like XP said, if you want to go somewhere that you don't have scenery on X-Plane, right, then do it in Microsoft because you don't have to download a bunch of scenery. You might just buy the scenery at the location, but you don't have to worry about ortho. Maybe you do have amazing scenery in X-Plane already, or maybe some came out or released or whatever that may be. Then do that flight in X-Plane and just do what you enjoy the most. Or P3D. I know we're kind of leaving out the P3D people, but just use a sim that you enjoy the most, that brings you the most joy, that gives you the best user experience.
Yep. I'm going to put a poll in my chat. Simple says is XPlane dead. I'm going to drop the poll. I always love to run these polls when we talk about the two sims. Just to see where everybody's at, because we have our own opinions on what we want and what we like, but there's other people's there with opinions too. And I love to hear from you guys on that, to see where you are lying right now. And we probably should go back, Blue, and compare these polls to like when we start running them like a few shows ago and see if people have shifted.
Yeah, true.
Since there's a new airplane out or not. But it's the great sim debate, you know what I mean? For right now, it's like, wow, but guess what? Consider ourselves lucky, guys, because we're not flying a 16-bit or 24-bit game anymore. We got like 1080p FPS 4K gaming now. Yeah, I mean, but no, you're good.
I'll be honest. It's actually kind of fun to watch. It's kind of like watching a basketball game or a football game or a race. It's like you see these two like just top competitors who are just killing it right now. Like think about if Microsoft Flight Sim never came on the scene, X-Plane is actually the best it's ever been. Right now. Right now, X-Plane has the best aircraft it's ever had, and it is running the best it's ever been. And it's a huge step up to where it was a couple of years ago. But Microsoft came along and just kind of distracted us from that, right? And somebody also mentioned in the chat, is Microsoft updating their flight dynamics? Well, they're actually always tweaking it from what I see from the developer shows. They're making changes to it. I don't know what it is about it, though. They just have a different concept and way that they approach flight modeling versus how X-Plane does it. And plus, X-Plane has been doing it much, much longer. They've been fine-tuning that flight model for so long, and getting it just right. And I mean, they have one guy who just obsesses about it, and I'm sure he has a whole team behind him who also obsess about the flight model. But it's been fun to watch this competition between the two. I don't think it's ever going to be over. And I do want to say, though, XPlane has been hella quiet lately.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and
yes.
when the developer's been real quiet, it's something real close or something big coming. I mean, think about
Oh
Phoenix
my
was
God.
real quiet for a few months. They were dropping
Hmm.
updates weekly, and then they
Yeah,
became real quiet and out of nowhere. Oh, we're dropping this in a few days. Like what?
yeah.
And
Unique,
so explain,
unique,
explain.
unique,
Go ahead.
unique. Murray says, "Explain isn't dead; it's just in the hospital bed." Todd. But
We need
look,
shirts that say "Explain is dead?"
and
Question
and
mark.
T-Bomb says, "Explain 12 needs a strong launch. Explain 12 needs to go. All streamers, here you go. Explain 12. Run with this. That's
I
what they need
agree.
to do. They
I,
need a very strong launch. You
I
know what I
like
mean?
this avenue. So I'm gonna ask you
Yeah.
something, XP. I want to contract you. If you were in charge of marketing for X-Plane 12, what would you do?
I would get together my top senior developers. I will help them convert their stuff to 12 to make it look the best it can. Same thing with my airplane developers. I'll get together and say, hey, make sure all your stuff is ready. And when I know that's ready, I will get together all the streamers, both YouTube and Twitch, and go, here you go. Here's Explain 12. Here's some free license to give out. Run this for a week, and we're going to drop after you're done. That's what I would do. I would get it out there in the public domain and just have everybody flying it and looking at it. You understand?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would do. You know what I mean? So, because look, I mean, if we go back to look at the weather effects in 12 and the lighting effects and the rain, and we were blown away because like this is 12, and then the clouds and it's like wow. So 12 is going to be good, man. It's gonna, if X-Plane 12 looks no different than X-Plane 11, then we're gonna have issues. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna look the same. It's gonna be different. How different? That's the question. I don't know how different they're trying to make it, or did they go? You know what? We need to go back to the drawing board and get more eye candy or something like that.
Yeah, I
And
guess that's been my worry with X-Plane
mhm.
12 is my initial look at it. You know, they've posted a few videos. My initial thoughts on it was like, this looks like X-Plane 11.6. And not so much in X-Plane 12. Like I don't know if it's different enough to be. I know they've put a lot of work, like physical man hours on the changes they're making, but like
Right.
to a person who like if you want to introduce X-Plane 12 to a brand new flight simmer, like someone who just was like, oh, flight sim, I want to do this now, and you're like, all right, this is what your options are: Microsoft Flight Sim, X-Plane 12. Right? It's like you want to introduce a brand new person to it. It's like, how do you sell that brand new person on go X-Plane 12 instead of Microsoft Flight Sim? It needs to
Yeah.
be very different than 11. But yeah, I 100% agree with your strategy, and I hope that they make it much different than it is. And again, I think this radio silence we've had is them putting their heads down, taking feedback, because they posted a bunch of content, and I'm sure they got a lot of feedback from that content that they posted a while back. And people probably been complaining about, oh, this looks like 11, this looks like crap, Microsoft is gonna kill you, blah blah blah. You know, all this is just gonna fuel the fire, because the X-Plane team, these guys, they think different. Like if you put them down, they come back stronger, I believe. So I'm excited. I think X-Plane 12 is much closer than we think now. Um,
Let me say this. I don't think X-Plane is that further away from Microsoft Flight Sim just because of Ortho. And hear me out on this. There's a little technical details I've been noticing. Microsoft trees, if you get close to them, are not trees. They're green blobs and blurry, but it works because you just glance at it, go, oh, that's a tree. But it's not really a tree with a root and a tree trunk and limbs. Next time you go to Microsoft, look at the trees again. It's literally just green blobs. But visually, you don't even realize it, right? Second thing is, the Microsoft Autogen without photogrammetry is just different color buildings. If they haven't done photogrammetry in the area, it's just different color buildings. The Autogen is. It's not like something specific to what it exactly looks like. It's only when you bring in photogrammetry, then you're like, wow. However, photogrammetry only works close up. Because if you're coming in on approach and your sliders are not turned all the way up in Microsoft Flight Sim, your buildings look like a pyramid or a spike coming up out of the ground. It's only when you're right on top of it you actually see definition and details if it's photogrammetry. So I think those things that XPlane can do. Now, they can do photogrammetry. That's just kind of proprietary, right? Once you get to altitude, if they do some kind of decent ground textures, that's not quite ortho, but close or something like that, I don't think they have a lot. But they need to concentrate, though, on the visual. Like, look at it visually and go, does this sim look good? And if it doesn't look good, I know everything else is fine. I know flight modeling and weather is fine. But they need to step back when they're done and go, does this simulator look good? And if they say it doesn't look good from some different opinions, they should go back and try to make it look good. You understand?
I
know it's right.
Here's my question. So if do you think, and this goes for XPlane and Microsoft, do you think a flight simulator, whether it be XPlane or Microsoft or P3 or whoever, do you think they should focus on VFR elements, or should they focus on IFR elements to make a more popular or more better sim, I guess, which is...
We're to the point now where developers are making planes that are just so good, like close to the real thing, that we can spend some time and make eye candy. I think we can.
So you think the developers should really focus on the environment of the sim so that third parties can come and insert their super high quality aircraft into the sim rather than focusing so much on the plane? Is that what you're saying?
If your base flight model is okay, go with the environment. You understand? Because that's what developers of aircraft developers want. They want your flight model to be good so they can just add on top of that. But environments are hard to do. You don't want to have to buy Ortho or Orbix England or, you know what I mean? You don't want to spend money on all the external world sceneries. You just want the base sim to look good and feel good to be in an environment, and then the third-party people can take care of the airport itself, just the airport grounds and the airplane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I'm saying. I agree. And I agree with somebody who said in the chat, too, it does seem that Flight Sim is focusing on visuals. Do you think, and I know you're not a developer and it's not an interview for you, but like just thinking out loud, do you think, and this is for people in the chat to answer as well if they want, do you think it's possible for Microsoft to make a flight dynamic comeback? Because they've ever since, even before it came out, they've just bragged and just talked about how amazing our flight model is, but then we see the community still complaining about how it doesn't do this and that. So like, where is the disconnect from where the developer thinks this is the best flight model ever created to the actual players and pilots are like, this is not good?
Priorities. Remember, XPlane is certified by the FAA. Right? Don't forget that. So Austin spent so much time on that, maybe too much time, but he spent a lot of time on working on the flight modeling, and basically probably just ignored the feel and look of it over flight model, because for him that's what's important. He's a real world pilot and he wants it to feel as real as it can. So for Microsoft, I think it's priority. Are they prioritizing flight modeling over other issues or other things? Like, half your users of or maybe more than half is Xbox people. Nobody in Xbox cares about flight model. You're using a remote control.
Yeah, how do you know? How could you tell with an Xbox controller
right here to fly it? You don't care about flight modeling. You know, in Xbox, I could be wrong. I don't have an Xbox, but so they have to contend with that set of audience plus the PC audience. So do they, or will they, or is that a priority, or is it good enough, or are the developers working their magic enough where they can say, you know what, let's not worry about it at all? That's the thing. I know where XPlane focus was. It was on flight model. I remember going, dude, you're talking about flight model again. Like, he was talking about prop wash and all this other stuff. But you see where it led to, something that felt good. Microsoft has the attention to do that. If they do, they can, absolutely. But are they? That's the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll see. That's the case, man.
A question I would love to ask Asobo themselves, and I know it's been asked before, but I haven't seen it had been asked lately. It was a long time ago. I think like a year ago. I think I saw somebody asked him this, and this was because right now it's as we know it's not an FAA rated sim, right? But XPlane
Right.
is, and I think P3 I
Hmm.
believe is as well. And
Hmm.
people were asking, so when are you gonna get an FAA certification for Microsoft Flight Sim? And I remember I forgot the guy's name, York or whatever. I think he mentioned that he was focused on the players first, and not going that route. Which,
Right.
I don't hate the answer because he's focusing on getting the sim right first, and getting everything that they have in their vision ready, and then later they'll go the commercial route. Because honestly, when they go FAA certified, we really won't probably see many of those changes, anyways, because that's not for us. That's gonna be a different version probably, and they may
Right.
take some of that pieces and put it into ours, so make it better. But I don't know. But I wonder though, when are they gonna go? Like, when is it? When are they gonna be happy enough with the sim? What state of the sim are they happy enough with to start going the FAA route? That's what I want to ask them.
Well, here's the chat. Carl was saying that the commercial version of XPlane is FAA rated, and then somebody else was saying, "Well, what's the point of FAA rating? What does that mean?" And I think it means that you can actually build hours in the simulator for real world. That's what a FAA rating means, if I'm not mistaken. Or flight school can use your simulator for training, for real training. You understand? So that's the point of the FAA certification.
Yeah, like you're
For
not gonna see Microsoft Flight Sim at a flight school until they get FAA rated, basically.
Exactly. That is what it is. It's so you can fly real airplanes. So the FAA is saying that okay, the dynamics of this thing is good enough that you can accumulate hours on the simulator here, and we'll take it into consideration. Versus, as you say, Microsoft is like, we're not worried about that. They're more worried about the overall scheme of it or the acceptance of it, and you know, I don't blame him for that, for not going after that. But we're big time sim enthusiasts, so we're like, we want the best fluid sim we could possibly get. And how much of their audience wants that? Is it
Yeah, I
just
think
us in
also
the
think
Mhm.
about what the focus of Microsoft is. Period. Right? Like, I
Mhm.
know Microsoft know who XPlane are. They know that XPlane basically XPlane and P3D have that focus in that market of going out for commercial contracts and doing the whole thing. Right? The XPlane, that's where they make most of their money. People are like, oh, XPlane can't afford to do this, and that. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't know XPlane does all this other stuff. Like, we're the small part of what XPlane does for us. They do so much more for everybody else. But what Microsoft is focusing on is rather the flight simmer side, not the I want to be a real world pilot side. That's what they're focusing on. And if you also
Right.
think about Microsoft as a whole and Microsoft Game Studios, right? They're the one that built Forza Horizon 5, which looks beautiful. Right, this is
Hmm.
what their specialty is making beautiful, amazing looking games and making UIs that look user friendly, whatnot. They weren't even a Sobo, like they don't know nothing about flight simulators. This is their first idea with this. So I mean, I like that they're still trying to make it more simulator than game. As time goes by, it's getting more sim. But as we mentioned a few shows ago, is that it's going to come back down to third-party developers to make aircraft that can be considered study level if they want.
And at the end of the day, for us, well, not for me. Let me just speak for myself, because there's a lot of other guys here who are actually going to flight school, taking going the full distance in real world flying. For me, it's entertainment,
Yeah.
and for a lot of audience, it's entertainment. And what do they care about if it's FAA rated or not, or if the flight model is perfect or not, whatever, whatever, whatever. It's entertainment, and I think that's where Microsoft hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Entertainment wise, yeah, you're like, wow. You're wowed a lot all the time.
Can I read
You know
this
what I mean?
comment?
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think I know you know what I'm talking about. Microsoft Flight Sim is the Call of Duty of flight sims. And X-Plane is the escape from Tarkov of flight sim. That is so freaking accurate. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
I love
God.
that he said that. Thank you, Mr.
I
Nelson.
know. I know.
Wow.
Yeah, so entertainment wise, you're getting the bang for the buck with Microsoft. You are. You can't deny it. You are getting it, and with more capable planes in it, you're like, yeah.
But
X-Plane has.
quick twist. Another
Right.
comment. I'm loving these. You guys are in the chat are amazing. Thank you guys for making this show so good. Another comment was and I actually want to ask. So, Fly with Rookie is using. He is a guy who has a full size 737 cockpit. If you guys haven't checked this video out, check this video out on YouTube. Fly with Rookie has a full size thing. It's super dope. Me and XP got to see it in person. We're gonna go again later this year. But he's using Microsoft Flight Sim as his sim to put this real world, like this real 1-to-1 scale 737 cockpit in. Does that prove that there's something here, right? Like, you know, because most people who are doing that are using P3D, and it's maybe a question, you know, better to ask Fly with Rookie. But what do you think? Like, what does that prove that he can build a life-size 737 cockpit fully functional in Microsoft Flight Sim?
He's got the best of both worlds. He's got the real. It's not even a cockpit anymore. It's half of an airplane, basically.
Yeah, basically. He has a galley and everything in it now.
Exactly. He's got a galley and everything. But then he also has the visuals to go with it. Because if you look at like a Level D simulator, that thing is ugly when you look out the window. It's like stick figures, you know what I mean? So he's got the best of both worlds with the wraparound screen and everything like that. So I'm not sure if he's using the Microsoft flight model or it's a ProSim flight model he's using on it. But whichever, the visuals is what he's got with Microsoft, and that is like, wow. Yeah, I mean, you can't. I think I did ask him why not go with XPlane or something else, and he's like, nah, man, it's gonna be Microsoft. And you know, it was a great choice when you see it in person. You're like, wow, you can look out the window and see some stuff, and you know, and work with it. So I don't know, man. 12 better step up. That's all I'm saying. 12 better step up in a big way, or else we're gonna be disappointed. You know, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So what's the poll saying about this? Is XPlane dead or not?
56%. I'm sorry, let me go. 44% says yes, but 56% says no.
That is actually close.
Oh yeah, we still have our XPlane.
I thought it would have been like massive, like wow.
Yeah, we have our XPlane faithful who will.
He just cut out.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we have our people in XPlane who have built time and say, no, we have all these planes that we still need to fly.
No, but I mean, I thought there'd be a lot more people who would say no.
Well, no. Look, if we did this poll before PMDG dropped, it would have been different. Right? We would have.
So true.
But now they're saying XPlane is on a ventilator. It's not. It's almost dead. But if there was no 12 on the horizon, we would have an issue. But because there's a 12 on the horizon, there's still an unknown.
Yeah.
But when 12 comes, we can run this poll again, and then we'll get our answer. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's way more.
That's a good point right there, actually. If XPlane 12 is not, that's the reason why everybody's saying P3D is dead, because there's no future. There's literally no. I mean, there's no promise of a future. Yeah, you do have developers who are sticking with the platform and promoting updates and stuff like that, but the platform itself has no foreseeable future because there's no P3DV, whatever is next. At least not next. There probably will be, but we don't know. XPlane 12, or at least we know that's coming. We know that they're working on it. They have proof that it is actually coming, and that's why XPlane is not particularly dead yet. You know, it might be like, you know, kind of in isolation. It might have COVID right now. You know, it's trying. So it
Oh my god! So, XPlane is sneezing right now.
And one thing I want to do, I want to ask everybody in the chat, if you're listening to this, go to either of our Discords and drop your favorite XPlane is dead meme in there. Just for the fun of it, or P3D, whatever. Let's just have fun in the community. But yeah, it's. Honestly, the answer to the question for me is I don't think it is dead, and I don't think it's going to die. I think we're going to be talking about XPlane versus Microsoft for a long time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think XPlane will always hold, no matter what happens. Let's say Microsoft keep improving and 12 drops and it's good. I think XPlane will always have a I don't want to use the word niche corner, but it's not going to go away. Unlike, as you said, P3D. End of life. Yes, they still fly FSX, so people still fly P3D, but yeah. But one thing though, developers for XPlane, that is the question. Will developers want to stick around?
Yeah. For
12 and during 12? You know, are they going to have a big enough audience for 12 of a user base to sell their products to keep them on 12?
I just think about it. There's people who are dropping mediocre scenery on Microsoft Flight Sim who are probably making more money doing that than a third-party developer on XPlane who spends 3 years on a product. Like that's probably a legit stat that person may be making about the same because of just the sheer volume of the audience on Microsoft versus XPlane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That is also, I just thought about that, like going, yeah, because developers make or break a platform.
Yeah.
You know, when P3D said they're going to stop support P3D version 4, everybody was dying. You know, when PMDG dropped support for FSX, people were like dying. You know what I mean? Developers can start dropping support for sims after a while.
So it's basically whether a sim dies is going to be in the hands of the third-party developers.
Yeah.
So imagine if XPlane, if Flight Factor was like, all right, guys, we changed our minds. We're going to drop a 777 on Microsoft Flight Sim.
Yeah, exactly. But look, 12's got some things on a roadmap still, which is good. If there's things on a roadmap for your simulator, that's a good thing. 12's got 12 coming out. 12's got 777 and the 777X. They have the 76 is coming out as well. The MD-11 is just getting mature, and I think there's a couple other products that are still coming out for XPlane.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That's been in the works, so that's not a bad thing at all. But wow, man.
And I
what
think,
a time to be alive.
Yeah, what a time. P3D, one last thing on that is, I feel like, and I could be ignorant when saying this, but I feel like DCS is actually coming into play of the death of P3D. And the reason I say that is because DCS is such a good, complex, and even now going up to like a study, we don't say study level in the DCS community, but it basically is study level military simulations. And the stuff that we get to use on DCS World is just the public stuff. Like DCS has side projects with like freaking the Air Force, you know what I mean? And like that's the kind of stuff that I believe P3D was doing at one time. So like, there's a few other elements around here that could be, you know, taking a stab at P3D to be, you know, the end of his life. So, you know, what do you guys in chat think the TOD, the P3D is, the time of death? Let us know.
Time of death, oh my god. It's gonna be somewhere around when PMDG ports everything from P3D to Microsoft Flight Sim. Yeah, like Chewy said, he's not gonna fly the NGX in Microsoft Flight Sim anymore. I'm sorry, in P3D anymore.
Honestly, that's a video I want to see. So P3D people I want to see the comparison of the PMDG 737 on Microsoft compared to P3D and maybe even FSA. I'm curious. Actually, I don't know. I didn't, you know, I wasn't aware of that in P3D. So.
Yep. I hear you, man. But what a time to be alive, man. What a time to be alive. We're going to have lots more of these debate coming up, guys. You know, we appreciate you guys being here and just participating. But as things unfold, and we're going to have one of these for the Phoenix when that comes out as well.
Oh, the Phoenix.
And expectations.
You better be good. You better come out swinging, Phoenix. You better come out swinging. It's a competitive time right now.
Oh yeah, very competitive time. And then when 12 comes out, we're going to have this discussion as well. And I don't know how it's going to go, man. I don't know how it's going to go. So, you know, but don't forget, guys, the Blu-XPerience, you can get it on Spotify, iTunes, and some other places, you know, maybe 24 hours after it drops and we're done. But yeah, did we leave out anything, Blue? Did we leave anything out?
I don't think so. I think we beat that pretty good. I think we did.
We're good. I like that. What you got coming up?
Well, more PMDG 737. I'll be back live again tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, which I think is 1700 Zulu, I think, something like that. So yeah, I'll be back flying to end the week off in the Southwest Classic 737. So looking forward to that, man. I've been enjoying flying the plane so much, as I've already said. So what about you?
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be back at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Was that 10:30 Zulu or something like that? Flying 737 again, but this time I have a little surprise for you guys about what we're flying. Oh yeah, a little twist on what we're doing.
I like twist.
A little twist, and we're gonna continue on into the weekend. maybe Sunday. So Friday and Sunday. Saturday, I'm working. We'll be busy, but we'll be doing it, guys. Thank you guys so much, man. Absolutely appreciate you guys being here, and we're having fun in SimCon. Never forget, somebody said Saturn said we started a war in the chat. I know. People got mad and left.
Oh,
so you know when that
man.
happens, you know what I mean? Oh my
Success.
god. Yeah, I know. It's success.
Oh my god, the chat's going so freaking fast.
I know. I appreciate it, man.
But guys,
Yeah,
it's been good. This is episode 26 of the
Yes.
Blu-XPerience. As he said, all 26 of these episodes will be live on Spotify. You can watch them back on YouTube, wherever you prefer to do that. And yeah, thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Hopefully you really enjoy this type of content. Again, we'll be back in the cockpit flying pretty soon, so come back and check us out. But until next time, remember you have three choices: give up, give in, or give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. We will see you guys next time, next video. We out, baby. See ya.